Good morning, everyone. This is the short story, fourth story, storytellers, fourth quarter storytellers. And today, I'm not with my partner, my co host. She is under the weather. So I am here with you guys by myself, and that is fine. Today is Easter Sunday. Happy Easter Sunday to everyone, or Resurrection Sunday, if that is what you refer to Easter Sunday as. And that is quite all right. So, we're going to talk about something really quickly this morning because we all have things to get to with our Easter or Resurrection Sunday activities. So, I wanted to talk just briefly about what Easter means to you. So, happy Easter, as I said to everybody. But in the United States, we have Easter, and it represents a Christian, or you could say religious holiday. Christian, religious, whatever your religion may be. And it celebrates the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, and it is said to have occurred 3 days after the crucifixion. So, after 3 days of the crucifixion, Jesus was said to have arose from the dead. It's considered the most important and joyful event of the Christian calendar because it does represent victory over life and death and hope over despair. And those are two great things to have in your mindset when you're going through life, because life can be hard sometimes. It is. I'm not going to say can be. Life is hard sometimes. Honey, life be life. So back in the day, I can remember hearing some people say that there are, as far as churchgoers are concerned, there are some people who are Easter and Mother's Day churchgoers. And what that meant was those are the 2 days that they went to church. Had on their Sunday's best, honey, looked the best, had the beautiful hat on, went out to eat afterwards, and all the restaurants were so crowded. You had to call and make a reservation so you could get in on those 2 days for Easter and for Mother's Day. And that's still the same way. You do have, even if people aren't going to church, they're taking their moms on Mother's Day and usually the entire family out for Easter dinner. And so they also said back in the day, I do remember, and they could still say this now too, that churches and the pastoral staff were so happy on those 2 days because of the offerings they got, because there were so many people. Think about it, so many people who were at church that didn't go to church on the regular, and so they were there on Mother's Day and Easter, so the offerings were substantially more. So they loved those 2 days for the offerings, y'all. Okay, so let's break it down. Let's look at it on different levels. First, let's look at the religious meaning of Easter, and I'm going to talk about Christianity, just or whatever religion. I'll just say that. So, the resurrection of Jesus. Now, according to the New Testament, Jesus was crucified on Good Friday, which we just celebrated. And you know what I find amazing, you guys, and really good? A lot of companies, organizations do give Good Friday as a paid holiday to their employees. I think that that's excellent. So, Good Friday was the day that Jesus was supposedly crucified, and then he rose from the dead 3 days later, which was and is Easter Sunday. So, now the core of the Christian faith, this is what they believe, or we believe. The resurrection confirms that Jesus is the Son of God, and it proves that death is not the end of our existence. And I didn't say the end of life purposely, because our existence, because I do believe that we are spiritual beings, and once we leave this existence in this life, our spirit goes on to glory. And so that life and that death is not the end, and that there is eternal life for believers. So that is according to what you believe. Okay, next let's visit the spiritual symbolism. Okay, so the spiritual symbolism of Easter is the renewal and the rebirth. Okay, now this, I love this part too. Easter is often seen as a symbol of new beginnings. And honey, there are times in life when we all feel like we need a new beginning. And so that's a breath of fresh air, if you will, because um yeah, it's a breath of fresh air. It's a sigh of relief. And I do breath work, you guys. I love it. But so anyway, but yeah, it's a breath of fresh air to have a symbol of a new beginning. And today, for many people, they are going to feel like this is a new beginning for me. I can make some changes. I can turn a page. Just hope again. Hope. So much like spring itself, when we get to spring, we always, when we're coming out of the winter months and we start seeing these beautiful flowers coming out, and our lawns start greening up and looking beautiful, and we're able to start planting our gardens and things like that. It's all about transformation, hope, and spiritual awakening and beauty, just a new symbol of life, just like spring. So I love that spiritual symbolism of Easter. And then finally, let's look at the cultural and consumer traditions. Now, over time, Easter has also picked up some non-religious customs. No, so cultural, and we'll talk about, for your culture, you do different things that some other cultures may not do. But consumer traditions, y'all, we live in a consumer society. So they every holiday there's going to be massive merchandising in the stores, and they actually started merchandising for Easter right after Valentine's Day. I think the day after Valentine's Day, February 15th, I started seeing Easter eggs and all that kind of baskets and things going up in stores and stuff like that. So they're always trying to get the money, honey. Okay, so Easter eggs is a symbolism of new life, which makes sense because the chickens lay the eggs and it's a new little chickie being hatched. And then the Easter bunny is a symbol of fertility and spring. A lot of people may not know that, but the bunny represents fertility and spring, which is also a symbol of new life, because fertility is the opportunity to bring forth a new life. And then spring is that hope, that refreshing transformation or spiritual awakening. So that's good stuff. And then we have family meals and spring festivals. Spring festivals, around Easter time. Easter, I saw a lot of people out yesterday. It was a beautiful day here in Atlanta. And yesterday, a lot of places that I passed, I saw little Easter festivals going on. So, and people were gathered, and it was good. It was all good. And then, of course, family meals. Now, I was invited to 2 dinners today. So families get together, have Easter meals, and like I said, the restaurants are packed and packed and packed today. And so if you got a reservation, then you are able to go and fellowship with your family, friends, and over a good meal, and just celebrate this time of transformation, hope, and spiritual awakening, new beginnings, spring itself, life, fertility. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing, guys. And even if you're not religious, you can actually take a lot of this spiritual meaning that we're talking about and feel good about it. Easter or Resurrection Sunday, whichever it may be for you. Now, I have a question that I was going to ask to Val, but I'll ask it to the community. So, do you like the story from the Bible behind Easter that, Jesus was crucified and oh, and I hope everybody saw, and if you didn't, I would recommend seeing the movie The Passion of the Christ about the resurrection of Jesus. That movie, I think I probably saw that movie about 5 times when it was at the theater, y'all. And I cried every time. And so, anyway, the story from the Bible where Jesus was crucified on Good Friday and then rose from the dead 3 days later on Easter Sunday? Or do you prefer more about how it's celebrated around the world today without the religious aspect added to it? And so that would be more of the consumer aspect or the spiritual aspect. So it could be just thinking of the thought of like spring itself, transforming, hope, having spiritual awakening, symbolizing new life, fertility, and spring. So do you like that better, or do you prefer to, and of course the consumerism where you buying the eggs, and this is one thing too, because the eggs and for the children, when you bring it in into activities for the children with the Easter egg hunts, and they get so excited, Easter egg hunts, and just festivals and things like that. So which would be preferred? For me, um as a young single person and now an older single person, I get more into the spiritual meaning. Well, as a young person, I'll have to say that I was more into the Bible version of Easter because it was all about Resurrection Sunday for me. God was crucified. I mean, Jesus was crucified on Good Friday and then arose from the dead to defeat death and show that that was not the end of our life. That was the meaning I loved. Then when I had my family, when I married and had my family, in my 30s, it was all about the children. It was all about the kids. I wanted to make everything good for them. And we always went to church and learned about the um resurrection part, but the kids were young at that point and weren't really paying attention to that. What they paid attention to was the fun part of it, and I enjoyed that so much, dyeing the eggs and then taking them over to my in-laws house and having a big Easter egg hunt at their house for all the cousins, and it was just fun. And then had Easter Sunday dinner at the house over there at the family's house. So that was a big part for me that I loved. And I do love at this point in my life thinking about the new beginnings, because this is the fourth quarter storytellers, guys. And we are talking about stories that we're telling not necessarily in the fourth quarter of our life, but we really are in our fourth quarter of our life. And this is the time in our fourth quarter where we're making those transformations, changes that will change the trajectory of our lives. And we will our endings will be greater than our beginnings. And so it is. But that's what I love right now. And then I was going to ask Val, had she been here, and my prayers go out to her, and I hope all is well. That I wanted to know her favorite Easter memory. So I'm going to tell you my favorite Easter memory. And I tell this story often when I'm talking to people about acts of kindness. Acts of kindness. One Easter, We went, it was my sister, myself, and my two sons. We went to, I can't remember. It was a restaurant. I can't remember what restaurant. It doesn't matter. But we went to a restaurant and had Easter Sunday dinner. Now, my sister is disabled and uses a walker. So I can recall one of my sons carrying her from the door to the table because the table was all the way on the other side of the restaurant, seated by a window. So we went and sat down, had a great meal, and all was good. And there was a man, we didn't know this, unbeknownst to us, there was a man who had he saw us come in. He saw my son carry her to the table, and I was probably carrying her walker at that point to the table. So he saw very well that she was not able to walk to the table. We had a meal, talked, laughed, had a good time. Time to get the check. So I said, you can bring this check now. I was paying for the lunch. And I said, you can bring the check now. And she said, oh, ma'am, your meal has been paid for already. I said, what? And then she said, yes. There was a gentleman over at the front of the restaurant, and he saw you guys come in, and he saw your son carry her over to the table, and you had to walk her. So he immediately knew that she was not able to walk. And he wanted to pay forward an act of kindness, and he paid for a meal, not knowing us from Adam, Eve, Tom, and Steve. Those are our names. But anyway, he didn't know us from any of that. But his heart, guys, his heart made him want to do that for us. And I thought, that is the most beautiful thing ever. And it just made my heart swell. And it was not a cheap meal, honey. We had some good stuff, and I was prepared to pay a hefty bill. But he paid for it. And that's my favorite Easter memory. So don't forget about acts of kindness. And that kind of propelled me in my life. Every time I get a chance, if I'm behind someone at the grocery store, and I know a lot of people do that too, and especially an older person or a younger person who doesn't seem like they're stable with their finances and things right at that point, and they don't have enough for everything that they're getting, and they start having to put things back. I'm always right there. Oh, I got it. I got it. You can go ahead and put it on my card. And so, yeah, I have no problem with that. And I love when people, it happened to me the other day, y'all. I was going to the drive-through at somewhere, and the lady said, oh, the lady in front of you paid for yours already. I'm like, oh my gosh, people, so there's still some love in the world, compassion in the world. Y'all, we're in this together. What I want to say is happy Easter, happy resurrection, if I can get it out, Sunday to everyone. Enjoy your day, and just let it be a new beginning. Let it be a transformation. Let it be hopeful, a spiritual awakening, and symbolizing new life for you. Okay? Love you guys. Fourth Quarter Storytellers, please like, subscribe, share with someone who could use this message as an uplifting, beautiful message on this Easter Sunday, y'all. Love you, and take care. Okay? Have a good one.